creating different personalities.
Yeah.
Could you tell us more about that?
So I wasn't allowed to go to people's houses in the night, or I was scared to let people come to my house and spend the night because I didn't ever know if he was going to have like an episode. Like when he had like episodes, we'd have to like run into the car and drive around till he passed out and sleep, and then sneak back in the house. So I didn't ever know like if I had friends staying for the weekend. Like I didn't want them to be exposed to that, because people pick on, in school, people pick on, So that around the time I was like 10 or 11, I just started like almost like being able to like take myself out of the situation and let another part of me be the one get molested. And that was when I came up with Harmony. And Harmony can like tell you about the beef and dip. I try not to do it because I've stored it in a place far away. You know what I mean? But so I started let Harmony be the one be molested and not me. Because that way, if my friends ever ask me, like, why come you can't come over, I could create like a perfect picture in my world that you can come over one day, it'll be great, we'll do this, we'll play ball, we'll hang out. I didn't want them to go to that world where they had to know, like, who's living abuse. I was getting molested because my friends would have been like their moms and stuff like that would have been like, you need to tell somebody, you need to do this. So. And I was always scared of losing softball too, so that was like my outlet.
Sure. So you created her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a personality, so did you create anyone else?
Remember I told you I lived in a trailer? That was in 1996. That was during the Olympics. The U.S. women's gymnastics team that won a gold medal. And that I played another personality doing that. That's Christina Brigana, and she's friends with like Carrie Strug, Dominic Dawes, and a bunch of people that are on the team. And like I had the whole trailer to myself, so she would like be able to like create apparatuses and like do like balance beams off stuff, like because maybe days my mom would be gone, and so that was just the way I would cope with. No, and not knowing if my mom was going to take us back there. Because I knew she would. Every time she said she was never coming back, we'd go back. Because I helped me do that year, because I had to stay really good in school, you know what I mean? Because my plan was like to get out one day, and do really good, which I did end up doing really good in school. I have a doctorate degree, but like, if it wasn't for being able to use those different, I guess you could probably like personas or whatever, I wouldn't have been able to live with her.
We have Harmony. Christina was the other one.
That was from when I was little. As I got older, there was more. There's Leticia, and there's Taylor, and there's Maria. She's protector. It's like I don't sometimes like if you look at like a lot of my different social medias, they have different names. Person part of it. Different phrase, different one word. You could always tell if you're going to play softball because like if I was in Leticia, like Leticia at my ambidextrous, so I could hit left-handed and right-handed, and like sometimes people wouldn't understand when I go to the plate, and they'd be like, "Hey, you need to hit left-handed, and you need to like," because there'd be like a run if like baseball. If there's like a run in second and third, they're like, "You need to hit left-handed," but if I was in that personality, I couldn't hit left-handed.
We have, as you got older, there was Leticia Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
You said Taylor was the protector?
Yeah, Taylor's my main person. No, Maria's my protector. Taylor's my main personality.
Thank you. Maria.
Victoria is the only personality that I have like empathy in because I store so much of trauma. If you want me to like be like if a friend's talking to me and they need me to give them advice, I have to switch to Victoria to actually try and be empathetic at all. Like severely empathetic, you know what I mean? I just don't have that.
All right. Taylor's the main personality. Maria's the protector. Victoria is the one who has the most empathy and kindness.
And then Leticia, she's bipolar. She would be doing the most. Like, you'll notice when I'm on Leticia. Actually, the psychiatrist the other day came to take my meds. She was doing the most. She's bipolar sick, and she was up for 4 or 5, 6 days at a time. You know, so I think it's Kepler or something like that.
You're currently on Kepler.
Kept something. Yeah, that. Kept from. I was gonna put me back on those Zyprexa, but I'll be eating too much on it. I don't like it.
So who are we talking to right now?
Yeah.
Okay. When you say Taylor is the main personality, what do you mean by that?
It's like, okay, so you notice like where Leticia, she's like more like into her like thug life. I guess you can say like rap music, that kind of thing. But Taylor's everything is like Leticia all wanted to be because she gets to be like, yeah, kind to everybody, but like successful. She has a whole separate world, you know. She's married to Tyler. They have kids.
This is everything that Taylor wanted to be, and Leticia is married to Tyler.
No. Taylor is everything Leticia. You got it backwards. No, Taylor is married to Tyler and have 3 kids, Ariana, Alicia, and Adriano.
Yes.
And just decided to get married, so that would happen, so I think we probably should, because we're really good, like, know each other. But it was to keep from having to do those crazy things that were without custody. We wanted to make sure whatever we did never hurt anything to do with children. So it was good on that, but then early in our marriage, Albert goes to Oklahoma. He's away at Oklahoma, he's away in Colorado Springs for training. And I'm taking care of the kids on his weekends to make sure he didn't lose his weekend. So I would have the kids on his weekend, but he would be in Oklahoma and he'd be in Colorado Springs. So like a lot of our marriage, I'd say 85% of it, we never even lived together. We never lived together until Colorado, like officially lived together. Because,
Funny night.
yeah, that was when we moved to Colorado Springs. Because we moved to Colorado Springs in March, but he didn't come yet from Alaska. And I had got the kids in school and stuff, so we really didn't live together. And so I started working at French, and I got back from probably graduating high school, and then we had all went on a cruise. So really, it was August 2019, and we actually like lived together. So it was more of like almost like a convenience. Like I feel like the marriage of convenience was I did everything for the kids. I took care of the kids. You know what I'm saying? I worked and we could buy whatever we wanted because we both had really good incomes. And I know that whatever, but that's the truth. You know what I mean? That's what it more so like.
When you started dating Albert, were you still living in North Carolina?
So this was South Carolina.
You're living in South Carolina.
I was living in South Carolina, so that was it.
Did you and Albert ever have any problems with physical?
No, like, okay, so our mom is a nurse practitioner for a psychiatrist. A lot of extensive experience in psychiatry. They would constantly tell Albert, I needed to be on medication or I need to be doing this throughout our whole marriage. You know what I mean? So that would cause a lot of problems. Like even if you look at the report that she wrote police before I got arrested, she talks about, you know, in there about, you know, 1 minute I'm this way, 1 minute I'm that way. You know what I mean? So like basically was married to him and her. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't necessarily a lot of physical. There was not, you know, any physical abuse. It was a lot of emotional abuse. He's a narcissist, so, he's the victim and everything, and he took advantage of my mental, sometimes I way my mental status would be, and like, go to his mom about it, and they'd all try to like, tell me I need to be on this meds, or I need help for this, or I'm crazy, So it was more so, mental and emotional. And there was never any physical up until the end, when we got custody of the kids, he thought I was in cahoots with him, which I guess you can kind of say I was. So if you look at my phone record, you'll see my plan was leaving, but I didn't want to leave the kids. Several messages you can see me say, I don't want to leave the kids because I know they will get taken care of. So we had custody of them. But their mom, she started dabbling in drugs, but she wasn't ready to get the kids back yet. So my plan to her was always like, I'm gonna let you know right before I leave. You better have a house, you better have everything together, and then I'll help you get the kids back to Carolina. So when he found out that what he called it, was in cahoots with her, that's when he started getting violent and aggressive, like throwing lamps in the house, there's a video on my phone they have where he stopped the car, because I record it all the time, because I wanted to keep all that evidence for Landon to have. And he's beating the piss out of Gannon, and he's flinging stuff like irate because he thinks we're all in cahoots against him to get the kids back. And he's like, you're just trying to take the kids from me. You're trying to get them back to their mom. So once I got the Colorado and we lived together, that's when it became like that. There was no hitting me with his hands. It was just flinging stuff in the house, being angry, slamming doors, punching doors. Like, he would get like that because he swore down I was working with her. I mean, which I guess you can see it as me working with her, but I felt like if I left, they weren't going to be taken care of. Like, he was going to do schoolwork. He was going to make sure they were clean. Nobody, he wouldn't. So he doesn't have that nurturing piece or that ability to multitask or none of those things. So in a way, I was kind of working with her to get the kids back home, but I guess he took that as me going against him. I was doing what was right for them. I believe it.
And so the kids would have been his two kids.
Right. If you look at all the school paperwork, who always talked to, up until he realized what I was doing, that I was collecting evidence to get the kids back home to her, because she had already promised me that I could see the kids whenever I wanted in Carolina, like that she would not take them out of my life. She had already told me that. And so once I started collecting, he would notice I'd be driving down the road and I'd have the phone on. And I'd just start collecting everything, because I'm already a paranoid person. But I knew, like, if I start collecting stuff, like, I would have it to give to her for everything. Because I wanted her to get her sobriety first, get a home, whatever. And once he noticed I started doing that, that's when it got a little bit violent with him speaking. I was trying to set him up and take the kids from him. His weren't paranoia. His was just because he knew I was right with him. He knew that everything I was collecting was preparing for when I left. Because if you even look at my phone searches on the evidence, you'll see that, like, I was looking for a place to stay. I was getting everything in order. I had already told Gannon, on Wednesday, I'm going to call your mother and tell her what's going on, but we've got to wait till Wednesday. The reason I said wait till Wednesday, because I was starting that flight attendant job, and I wanted to make sure that everything had went through my flight attendant, that I had been officially hired. I was going to the training, everything before I said something to her that, hey, I'm leaving. You know what I mean? Here's our plan. This is what we're going to do to get the kids back. They wanted to go with me, but I told them, I was like, don't charge me with kidnapping. If you don't call the country, we've got to have a plan, so. But that was always the plan. So they can call it cahoots, whatever they want to call it, but my plan was to make sure I know that Rhonda and Matt would take care of that. Landon's mom and dad. I know as long as because when I was in South Carolina and I had the kids, they were the only two people that helped me with anything I had by myself. So I knew they would be safe with them. Whatever I needed to do to prepare them to have them, that was the method I was taking. So.
And about how many months, maybe before this alleged offense happened, did things take that? where he really became impressive.
I know it sounds minimal. I've created so many different personas in my life, and so many different ways to cope with everything I've been through. The sunlight is one of them. Like being in somewhere warm, being somewhere where I can use those coping skills to help me when I have a flashback, you know, when I wake up from a nightmare, so I tried to talk to him about it. And I said, hey, Colorado and me just don't, you know, like it's causing me to get worse mentally. I was having more of my manic episodes. I was just like having more episodes where I forget and lost the time. And a lot of it was because I didn't have those coping skills. Like you can't play softball here in Colorado. You know what I mean? Not during the months that I'm used to playing back home. And so, you know, all these skills I built over time were taken from me in Colorado. So when I got here officially in August, it was weird because I had to do outside duty work here. For teaching, you know, to have like outside duty, stuff like that. I was freezing in September, you know, and I was like, I wanted to do something else, or let me go be a flight attendant where I could do warm sometimes. And I'll set my schedule where I'll be with the kids a few days a week, and I'll be a flight attendant a few days a week. Because I knew mentally I needed that outlet because I'd used it all my life. That's when he took offense to it, of like, if you're going to be a flight attendant, there's nobody going to be here to watch the kids. And I was like, I'll be here on these days, but these days I want. So that was around September, October of 2019. Because I had applied for a flight attendant job, and I was supposed to start it the next year because they only have like a waiting list or whatever. That's when it got like that, when he saw that I was actually going to be leaving or be gone part-time. He can't operate without having someone do everything. So that's.
We just stopped it at 24:55.